plane. That ain't no plane. Bro.
Take still shots too.
What would happen if everything flaring up around you right now isn't just coincidence anymore, but a countdown clock for all of humankind? Heading into 2026, the ground shakes. Raging waters sweep away anything in their path. The sky flashes with strange signals hard to name, and the oceans slowly start revealing secrets buried since ancient times. An urgent feeling hangs in the air. Time feels squeezed, and fear quietly creeps into every single moment. From devastating floods in the Himalayas, brutal blizzards tearing through the northern United States, to one bizarre phenomenon after another, appearing in the sky, under the sea, and right in the middle of our cities, 10 signs keep rising up, crashing together, overlapping almost like an unseen hand is stirring up the normal order we've always known. Do you feel that urgency too? If so, leave a short prayer below as a small mark of faith before we step into what's waiting in the next part. Okay? And now, let's get right to it. 1. The Ravi River turns muddy and furious, like a monster. The once calm river suddenly turned angry in just a short time. The water changed color, rose straight up, and swept away everything in its path without mercy. The Ravi, the river that flows through the mountain area of Himachal Pradesh, suddenly became wild like a living thing, crashing straight into roads, bridges, fields, and villages along its banks. Amid all the rush of news, you can easily feel the unease when nature no longer follows the rules we're used to. In the Chamba area and nearby regions, many connecting roads were completely destroyed, including an important bridge in Kathua that collapsed just a few hours after the water rose. News reports say thousands of people had to leave their homes. Many neighborhoods were cut off, and damage spread across square miles. The river carried mud, dirt, and whole trees, moving at an estimated speed of nearly 60 miles per hour, creating a chaotic scene that went on for hours with no way to control it. Pressure from upstream forced local authorities to make emergency decisions. Reports say a levee system about 538 feet long was in danger of being overloaded, so officials had to release floodwater right away to prevent a chain of dam breaks. The warnings went out in a hurry, but the language stayed technical and calm, showing a real race against time. When people see those pictures, many can't help thinking of the old stories written long ago. Genesis 7:11 describes the start of the Great Flood. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the windows of heaven were opened. Those ancient words sound like another language, helping explain why water became a tool of judgment in humanity's religious memory. The rising water is stressed again in Genesis 7:17. When the flood didn't just come, it kept getting higher. The flood continued 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and lifted the ark above the earth. That picture strangely matches today's reality, where the Ravi River's water level went way past all the old safety limits. Modern science gives the usual explanation: climate change and more extreme heavy rain across the wider Punjab region. Still, the way these events keep happening with the same frequency and strength makes many people wonder if there's a deeper meaning to what's going on. Genesis 7:21 ends the story with the heavy result. All flesh that moved on the earth died, and all mankind, like a cold reminder of the price of corruption. As the Ravi slowly goes down, the scars it left are still there, not just on the land, but in people's minds. If water once marked the beginning of a great cleansing in the distant past, what is this raging flood warning us about now? And will it stop with just one river? 2. Blizzard on Lake Michigan, 60 miles per hour, winds, 0 visibility. Lake Michigan is swallowed up in a fierce blizzard. The wind howls like invisible knives. Water vapor freezes in midair, turning the huge lake into an endless white nowhere. The real shock isn't from what you see, it's how suddenly the cold hits, like someone just switched off all the warmth in the world. A bomb cyclone formed fast over the Great Lakes area, putting Lake Michigan right in the center. Waves reached up to 34 feet, big enough to swallow large boats whole. CNN reports wind gusts hit 60 miles per hour, with about 20 inches of snow falling in a short time, creating full blizzard conditions and zero visibility across a wide area. Those hard numbers make you realize this isn't just an unusual cold snap anymore. It's extreme weather far beyond what most folks are used to. CNN also says roads along the lake are completely shut down. Many neighborhoods have been without power for hours, and rescue operations are seriously hampered by the strong winds and no visibility at all. Pictures show the shoreline frozen solid, snow waves standing up like white walls, creating a scary scene where nature isn't just cold, it's a real threat to human life. Weather experts explain that this year America has been hit hard by powerful blizzards because unusually cold Arctic air is pushing far south and clashing with warm, moist air from the Gulf. That big temperature difference lets storms strengthen very quickly, especially over big lakes like Michigan, where the water feeds more snow and wind. The science makes sense, but the way these storms keep coming so often leaves a deep unease that's hard to shake. In the middle of all this, the Bible comes in with a different layer of meaning over the present cold. Job 38-22 asks a warning question. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow, or seen the storehouses of the hail? Those words aren't trying to explain the weather. They're pointing out that snow isn't just stuff. It's a tool under God's ultimate control. The warning goes further in Job 38-23, where snow is described as something reserved for the time of trouble, for the day of battle and war. So the cold isn't neutral anymore. It becomes a sign of tense testing times. Job 37-6 finishes the thought with a clear command. For he says to the snow, fall on the earth, as if every storm starts from a higher will. When the blizzard finally moves on, the cold still lingers, not just on the lake, but in people's feelings too. If snow was once used in the Bible as a warning, what are these back-to-back brutal winters trying to tell us? And is Lake Michigan just the beginning of an even longer, deeper cold? 3. A tornado like a giant snake. A pale white swirling column rises up from the middle of the plains. Its body bends and twists, creeping across the sky like a living thing. There's no familiar roar of a storm, just a slow but powerful motion that makes anyone watching feel a chill down their spine. The fear doesn't come from instant destruction. It comes from how strange and wrong the shape looks compared to anything people have ever seen. The video spread fast on Reddit and Instagram. It was filmed near the border between Kansas and South Dakota. The funnel stretches hundreds of feet tall, with a smooth white surface like packed fog. It jerks and stutters like a glitched video. Unlike a regular tornado that spins tight, this one stretches out, waves back and forth, top touching high clouds, bottom sweeping close to the ground. The people filming keep backing away in panic because no one can tell where this thing crawling through the air will go next. By this point, it feels like you're watching something that isn't just weather anymore, it's beyond normal logic. Experts might call it a rare type of vortex, formed by extreme differences in temperature and moisture. But the scientific explanation starts feeling weak when the image looks so much like a giant living snake, slowly finding its way, not just some lifeless phenomenon. In the Bible, whirlwinds aren't just weather. 2 Kings 2:1 tells of a special moment. When the Lord was about to take Elijah up to heaven in a whirlwind, Elijah and Elisha were on their way from Gilgal. The whirlwind appears as a sign of something breaking through ordinary order. It isn't loud, but it carries a meaning no one can ignore. The story continues in 2 Kings 2:11, and it gets even more intense. As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Here, the swirling wind is both a physical movement and the boundary between earth and heaven, between what we can see and what we can't grasp. Back to that white column over the American plains. Many people try to calm themselves, saying it's just nature glitching. But Psalm 107-25 offers a different view. He spoke and stirred up a tempest that lifted high the waves. The wind doesn't just blow, it is called up, and when it is called, it brings a message that fits the moment it arrives. That white snake shape eventually fades away, leaving an empty sky and millions of confused views. But the uneasy feeling doesn't go away. If just one strange movement can make people shiver like that, what will happen when the next images appear bigger in scale and clearer in meaning? 4. Discovery of an ancient rudder from a mysterious giant ship under the ocean. Everything started real slow, almost like a whisper coming up from deep underground. Up in the Mount Tendurik area of Turkey, layers of quiet rock and soil suddenly got peeled back, revealing a strange shape that had been sleeping there for thousands of years. No big explosion, no dramatic scene, just this creepy feeling as an ancient secret slowly came into view. And have you ever wondered why finds like this seem to show up at exactly the right moment? Researchers are calling this discovery a huge rudder, about 538 feet long, buried deep in ancient sediment layers. The spot is right next to the Durupinar Formation, a place that's been argued about for decades because it looks so much like an enormous ship. Tests on the soil around it show it's roughly 5,000 years old and contains traces of sea-based materials, something that's pretty hard to explain in a high mountain area far from any ocean. The photos that came out left a lot of people stunned. This thing isn't just unusually big. Its proportions make you think of a ship way more than some random geological formation. The curves, the symmetry, the overall length, they all seem to follow an intentional design, like it was built to guide a massive object through vast waters. In the Bible, Genesis 6:14 sounds like an old answer. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in it, and cover it inside and out with pitch. That ship wasn't just something to survive in. It was a detailed plan, preparation for an event like nothing the world had ever seen. The details keep going in Genesis 6:15, where the size is spelled out clear. This is how you are to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. When you put those Bible numbers next to the 538-foot length of this newly found structure, the similarity is hard for many folks to just brush off, even though science stays careful about jumping to any conclusions. Geologists say it could simply be a natural arrangement of sedimentary rock under tectonic pressure. But then Genesis 7:24 comes in like the final piece. The waters prevailed on the earth for 150 days. The question isn't really whether water once covered the whole earth anymore. It's how the memory of that event was kept alive. If science sees rock and time, and the Bible sees warning and preparation, then what exactly is this discovery trying to tell us again? That silent structure under the mountain might just be history, or it might be a reminder that what happened once hasn't necessarily finished for good. And when the next sign shows up, will humanity still have enough time to really understand what it means? 5. Mysterious white shadows on the Euphrates River. Night falls over the almost dry Euphrates, and the air feels tight, like a stretched string. A thin mist drifts just above the water, and in that darkness, a pale white shape suddenly appears, floating as if it doesn't quite belong to this world. No sound, no warning, just a creepy feeling that something is rising up from the place once thought to be the cradle of ancient prophecies. Videos going around show a long, fragile white figure moving slowly right over the river's surface. As the water level has dropped feet and feet because of the long drought, strange things have started to show up, and this white shadow stands out the most. You can see it looking hazy, sometimes clear, sometimes fading away, like it doesn't belong to the normal physical world. People watching say this has happened several times in recent months, right as this historic river has been drying up like never before. Folks following from far away describe a hard-to-name fear, not because of the exact shape, but because of the setting where it appears. A river once tied to power and judgment has now become the stage for an image many people can't just ignore. In the community, The debate is heating up fast. Some believe it's a sacred sign, connected to things foretold thousands of years ago. Others say it's just a natural thing, maybe gas, changing air pressure, or light reflections in tough conditions. From a science view, dropping water levels and temperature shifts can trick the eyes and create illusions. But is the timing really just a coincidence? When the Bible comes up, the tone gets more serious. Revelation 9:14 sounds like a strong warning. Say to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. It's no longer just a metaphor. The river is named directly, tied to an act of release that affects the whole world. The charge gets even heavier in Revelation 9:15. The four angels had been kept ready for this very hour and day and month and year. They were released to kill a third of mankind. The Euphrates is no longer just geography. It becomes the exact moment for a planned event. And when Revelation 16:12 is read, the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up. What we see today suddenly feels frighteningly close to those ancient words. If science sees drought and climate change, and the Bible speaks of judgment, then where does this white shadow stand? It might just be the last mirage of a dying river, or it could be a warning that whatever was once bound is now starting to be set free, and when that is finished, what will humanity have to face next? 6. Treasure found deep in the ocean. Down at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, researchers found something that really stopped them in their tracks. Pictures from underwater equipment show gold coins, treasure chests, and old building remains lying thousands of feet below the surface near the Azores Islands, a place long tied to stories of lost worlds. In that dark water, this treasure stirs up a curiosity you just can't shake, and it hits us that the ocean has never been just an empty, quiet space. Recent surveys build on earlier finds, like the city of Thonis Herakleion off the coast of Egypt, a busy town that disappeared under the sea long ago. Some stone structures there have been dated back to around 11,000 years, showing ancient people once lived in places now swallowed by water. Videos spreading online have a lot of folks wondering if the Azores might be just another piece in the chain of sunken cities. The treasure includes precious metal items and chests full of gold coins, scattered around stone foundations, all buried under huge water pressure. Some spots even show strong geothermal activity, like heat energy still quietly flowing under the seabed. The whole scene feels both grand and kind of eerie, reminding us of a civilization that was once very wealthy but couldn't escape its fate. Scientists are approaching this carefully. They say the coins and chests could be leftovers from ancient trade, pulled down by earth movements or rising sea levels after the Ice Age. The Azores sit on a complicated geological spot where volcanoes and faults can cause whole settlements to collapse in a short time. That explanation makes sense, but there's still this vague feeling that maybe there's a deeper message here. When you put the Bible next to this discovery, the picture changes. Revelation 18:21 sounds almost chilling. A mighty angel took a huge stone, like a millstone, and threw it into the sea, saying, "So will Babylon the great city be thrown down with violence, and never be found again." The sea isn't just a hiding place. It's a tool that wipes out pride. Jeremiah 51-42 paints the same picture. The sea has come up over Babylon. She is covered by its roaring waves. No matter how rich a city gets, it can't escape the judgment of the water. And when Genesis 7:11 is remembered, the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the windows of heaven were opened. The memory of the great flood turns this underwater treasure into more of a warning than a prize. Science sees geological history and archaeology. The Bible points to cycles of destruction and salvation. No matter how deep the gold and silver sink, Noah's story still says clearly that only faith survives when the waters rise. So the Azores treasure isn't just about a lost past. It quietly asks us, when today's modern cities face rising seas, what will be kept and what will go down with them? 7. Mysterious glowing orb hanging in the sky. Against the thick gray clouds over Hawaii's sky, a strange bright spot stands out clearly, almost like someone placed it there on purpose. It isn't as sharp and blinding as lightning, and it's not calm and still like a star. Instead, it just hangs there, perfectly round, sending out layers of green, red, and purple colors that swirl together like something alive breathing. Even just watching it on a screen, you can feel this isn't normal weather. The videos going around show that the glowing orb doesn't stay completely still. It floats above the gray clouds, slowly changing colors, sometimes shrinking down to a tiny glowing dot, sometimes spreading out with a bright halo all around it. There's no sound, no explosion or burning, just gentle movement and a rhythm that's hard to explain. It leaves people feeling curious and a little uneasy at the same time. The place where this happened also caught people's attention. Hawaii is home to the Mauna Kea telescopes, an area where people often do light experiments and sky observations. Some articles on Live Science mention that laser beams, or light refraction in the atmosphere, can create colorful orbs like this. But when you watch the full videos, you can see the movement and colors don't quite match the usual light effects we're familiar with. This is still a phenomenon we don't have enough information to explain fully. The light could come from waves interfering with each other, reflection off thick clouds, or some rare interaction between energy particles and magnetic fields. Still, the fact that it lasted a long time, stayed very clear, and kept changing colors makes a purely technical explanation feel incomplete. That very hanging there quality adds to the mysterious feeling. When you put this next to the Bible, another layer starts to open up, not as a definite proof, but more like a gentle suggestion. Joel 2:30 is mentioned as a piece of the puzzle. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The light above the gray clouds isn't fire or smoke, but it still carries the look of a sign appearing high up. Joel 2:31 goes on. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the great and dreadful day of the Lord comes. With the gray clouds covering the sky and this strange light floating above, the sense that something normal is being hidden becomes stronger than ever. Then in Matthew 24-30, the Bible almost whispers instead of shouting. At that time the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn. It doesn't say for sure that this glowing orb is that sign, but the way it appears in the sky makes it hard for many people to just ignore the similarity. Maybe this is just a rare light effect in the atmosphere, or maybe it's a quiet reminder sent through the sky. Either way you look at it, that glowing orb above the gray clouds leaves one question hanging. When the sky starts speaking with strange colors and lights, what is the real message it's trying to tell us? 8. Mysterious, winged bright shape. Together with the strange trumpet sounds, the sky over Alaska suddenly felt overwhelming, almost hard to breathe, when a strange bright patch opened up right in the middle of the cold, icy clouds. The light didn't scatter everywhere. It pulled together into the shape of a person, with what looked like wide wings spread out on both sides. It gave off a glow that felt both mysterious and sent chills down your spine. The quiet of the snowy, frozen land was suddenly broken by this weird, hard-to-name feeling, like the sky was gently opening a door that had been hidden for a very long time. Then came the sounds, long, low, deep hums that vibrated through you, like metal trumpets echoing from far away but filling the whole sky. It wasn't loud and sudden, it just stretched on and on, slow and heavy, making the ground feel like it trembled a little under your feet. Lots of folks said the bright light hung there for a few moments then slowly faded, but that trumpet sound kept going for a long time, long enough to make your heart skip a beat. This brings back memories of the sky trumpets people have reported around Anchorage in recent years. Folks online keep sharing those low, metallic-sounding recordings that don't sound like planes or thunder at all. Around the same time, pictures and videos of the winged glowing figure spread fast, and they made a lot of people feel uneasy because they didn't match any usual weather we know. If you look at it calmly, some scientists think maybe underground vibrations or electromagnetic waves in the air could make sounds like trumpets. The light might come from atmospheric plasma or some rare reflection in that extreme cold. Still, the fact that the glowing shape and the long trumpet sound happened together at the same place and same time makes many people stop and wonder. Arguments started right away. Some say it's just nature doing something unusual and people's imaginations made it bigger. Others feel it's a spiritual sign. The debates get intense because wings of light and trumpet sounds touch something deep in the Bible, where those sounds aren't just noise, they're warnings. Revelation 8-6 gets brought up a lot as a warning still hanging there. And the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. Then Revelation 8-7 tells what happens after the first one. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth. The trumpet sounds over Alaska haven't brought disaster yet, but they still feel like the opening note. Revelation 9-1 takes the uneasy feeling even higher. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. When that light appeared high up, then slowly disappeared. It's hard not to think of that. Not saying it's definitely true, just a reminder that some signs can't be explained only by what our eyes see or ears hear. No matter how you explain it, that winged bright shape and the echoing trumpet sounds left behind a heavy feeling. If it's only nature, it still reminds us how small we are under that big sky. And if it's a warning, the question still hanging there is this trumpet just the beginning? Or is a much bigger one coming soon? 9. Blood moon phenomenon, happening more often, in an unusual way. The night sky suddenly feels heavy when the familiar moon loses its gentle silver glow and turns a deep, dark red like clotted blood. The light isn't bright or blazing, it just spreads quietly, creating a serious, almost suffocating feeling. You can really sense the unusual silence in the air, as if time itself is slowing down to make room for something beyond our normal everyday life. In recent years, blood moons have been showing up much more frequently across North America and other parts of the world too. Total lunar eclipses keep coming one after another, especially with the one expected on March 3, 2026, continuing the series that started after 2025. Each time, the moon turns a deep blood red for about 58 minutes, and you can see it clearly from the Pacific region all the way across the continent. It feels both majestic and unsettling at the same time. The astronomy numbers are pretty clear. Orbits, Earth's shadow, the way light scatters in the atmosphere. But what confuses a lot of people isn't the how, it's the rhythm of it all, repeating so often. Scientists agree this series follows natural rules, but they still find it hard to explain why so many are packed into such a short period, right when a sense of global uneasiness is spreading everywhere. The exact math doesn't quite remove that lingering, uneasy feeling. That empty space opens the door to another kind of thinking. While science stops at explaining what is happening, the Bible asks, what does it mean? Joel 2:31 sounds like an old key. The sun will be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord comes. Those words aren't about the mechanism. They're about the timing and the sign. Acts 2:20 repeats the same picture with even more weight. The sun will be turned to darkness, and the moon to blood before the great and glorious day of the Lord comes. When blood moons stop being rare and become a common sight in the sky, that coincidence makes many people feel it can't just be random chance in the universe. Then in Revelation 6:12, the picture reaches its peak. When the Lamb opened the 6th seal, there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth, and the whole moon became like blood. Here, the blood moon isn't alone. It's part of a bigger chain of events tied to a decisive turning point in human history. Scientists may keep giving accurate forecasts for the next eclipses, but they can't explain why this image touches people so deeply. A blood moon doesn't destroy anything right away, but it plants a feeling of waiting in your heart, like some door is slowly starting to open. If the blood moons we've seen so far were just gentle reminders, The question still hanging in the air is this: when the next moon turns red again, will it only be a terrifying beauty, or will it mark a turning point that no one can turn back from? 10. Hundreds of rats flood the streets in the US. Screams ripped through the city air, car horns blaring over each other, traffic lights flashing on a night that seemed totally normal in New York. On the pavement, thick moving black patches made the crowd step back in panic. Can you imagine a modern city turning into this scene in just a few minutes? Videos going viral show rats pouring out of sewer holes, clinging to wheels, climbing onto hoods while cars were still running. Up in the Upper West Side, people climbed onto benches, grabbed railings, trying to stay clear of the chaotic wave moving below their feet. Cameras shaking, heavy breathing, that suffocating feeling hanging between the skyscrapers. Lots of sources confirm the scene. Rats hanging onto the sides of cars, moving in groups, showing up right in the middle of rush hour. The pictures make it clear they weren't just hiding, they were taking over public space, turning sidewalks into paths of fear. Clips from YouTube and Fox News reports make you feel like you're standing right in the middle of the chaos. Experts quickly gave explanations: piles of trash building up, overloaded sewer systems, an unusually warm winter causing the rat population to explode. City studies point to hotspots around crowded neighborhoods where food is easy to find. But even with all the data put together, one question still hangs in the air. Why did this outbreak hit so suddenly and everywhere at once? The old story comes back to mind from Exodus 8:2. If you refuse to let my people go, I will send frogs all over your country. The plague doesn't come one by one. It floods in, fills every space, leaves people nowhere to hide. That same pattern feels chillingly familiar when you look at today's footage. Exodus 8:3 goes on. The river will teem with frogs. They will come up into your palace, your bedroom, even your bed. The picture of creatures invading the safest places reminds you of total violation. Even in a city of steel and glass, that feeling of safety gets broken in a very similar way. Then in Revelation 16:13, the description gets heavier. I saw 3 unclean spirits that looked like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. This isn't just a nature event anymore. It stands for something dirty spreading, something ignored that's now rising to the surface. The scientific explanations calm things down a bit, but the tight, suffocating feeling stays when people look down at the street. Rats covering the whole block aren't just a cleanliness problem. They're a warning sign that something rotten can break out at any moment. When stuff builds up long enough, the overflow is going to happen. At the end of the day, this scene sits there like a heavy period. If a bunch of rats can paralyze a big city for a little while, what happens when something much bigger and dirtier finally shows itself? And is this just the beginning of a plague that nobody wants to name yet? Here are 10 signs that have appeared one after another, like pieces of a puzzle that belong together, from fiery skies and shaking ground to tiny creatures flooding the streets. When you put them side by side, they're no longer just separate incidents. They become one continuous warning, like a bell ringing over and over, trying to wake up people's hearts and minds. Each sign leaves a heavy feeling behind, making us stop and really think about what it all means. In Matthew 24-42, it says, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." Keeping watch isn't just looking at what's happening in the world. It's looking deep inside ourselves, seeing what has drifted away from what's right and true. All these things we've just talked about are like a mirror, showing how fragile the order is that we usually think is so solid. When the signs keep coming faster and stronger, the call to change becomes more urgent than ever. Acts 3:19 tells us, "Repent then, and turn to God, so that your sins may be wiped out." That turning back to God doesn't have to be loud or showy. It starts with a quiet decision in your heart, admitting where you've been wrong and really wanting to be made new. In the middle of all the worry and confusion, faith is the one thing that never gets shaken. Psalm 46:1 says, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. When everything outside is trembling, holding on to faith and keeping up our prayers keeps our hearts from being swept away by fear. What has happened raises a big question about the near future. Is 2026 the doorway to something much more serious? No one has the full answer yet, but Amos 3-7 reminds us, surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. These signs aren't meant to make us despair. They're here to prepare our hearts. In this quiet moment, we're being invited not just to listen, but to take very small steps of action. Saying a simple prayer, sharing an honest thought, these are ways we answer the deep call we're hearing. The words people leave below aren't just comments. They can become the testimony of a heart that's searching for light. If these messages touch you, sharing them is an act of love, so no one has to face the uneasiness all alone. Every bit of companionship, every time someone keeps following, helps keep this wake-up call from getting lost in all the noise online. As we close this journey, I send this blessing to everyone listening, along with your families and loved ones. May you always be kept safe in peace. May God's grace be with us all. So no matter how the times may change, our hearts never drift away from hope. Amen.
Tuesday, January 13th, 2026, here in Chemtrail Hill. Wow. It's like...
Olha só isso!
If the sky suddenly turns into a warning sign, do people still have time to hesitate? Just in the short opening months of 2026, 10 events hit one after another. White streaks covering the whole sky, poisonous clouds coloring the cities, strange shapes gliding through the clouds, light bending into symbols, wind slamming down like a hammer, ice and snow swallowing up towns, record snow burying the far north, clouds flowing like rivers, thick solar halos, and a massive wall of clouds rolling in like a doomsday wave. None of it happens slowly. It comes fast, piling up, layer on layer, tightening that feeling of chaos and a future fading with every breath. Are we just seeing coincidences? Or is a sequence being carefully arranged? Do you really believe this is all random, when everything is speeding up at once like time has lost its patience? So now, come with me deeper to face the pieces of truth. And before we start, please leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a way to hold on to faith while the sky still refuses to stay quiet. Right now, we're going to jump straight in with 1. Chemtrails. Those harmful streaks covering the sky. What's really being drawn across the sky when those white streaks don't fade away anymore, but hang there like a giant net? Just look up for a few minutes, and you can feel this sense of chaos drifting down from above. Long, straight lines crossing each other, covering the whole sky like someone's quietly writing a cold, silent message. In that moment, we're no longer just watching from the outside. We're pulled into something much bigger, where the air starts feeling heavy and our usual peace begins to crack. Chemtrails, the name people use for those long-lasting white trails behind planes, are being seen a lot in Pennsylvania, especially around cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Day after day, the sky gets filled with lines that don't disappear quickly like normal contrails. Instead, they spread out, grow wider, and join together into thin sheets of cloud. Pictures and videos going around show this isn't just happening in one spot anymore. The same thing is being reported in Florida and many other places around the world. What really catches people's attention isn't just how often they appear, but how they change over time. They start out bright white, then turn a dull gray, spreading over a huge area and leaving a stuffy, heavy feeling that lasts for hours. Some folks who live there say they have trouble breathing, get allergies, or feel unusually tired after days when the sky is covered like this, though no official medical study has confirmed a direct link yet. Looking at it neutrally, these are observations worth taking seriously because how widespread and how often they show up goes way beyond what used to be considered normal. Online, the debate is really heated. One side believes chemtrails are connected to geoengineering programs, pointing out that weather and atmosphere modification has been openly discussed in many scientific papers. The other side pushes back hard, often mentioning a study from the University of California, Irvine, that says there's no evidence commercial planes are spraying chemicals and that the white lines are just contrails forming under certain weather conditions. With these two completely opposite views, which way do you lean when you see them showing up so often, more than ever before? When you look up at a sky blurred by these man-made clouds, a lot of people think of Matthew 24:29. Right after those days of suffering, the sun will go dark, the moon won't give light, the stars will fall from the sky, and the powers of heaven will be shaken. Luke 21:25 paints a similar uneasy picture. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be worried and confused because of the roaring of the sea and the waves. These Bible verses don't prove what's happening, but they give us something serious to think about when the sky no longer looks the way it used to. No matter which explanation you go with, chemtrails have become a dividing sign, something that forces us to face the question of how far we should go when messing with nature. And if this is only the first curtain drawn across the sky, then whatever's coming next as the atmosphere keeps changing, it's probably a lot more frightening than we realize. 2. Chemical incident in Cape Town. Sky turns a strange color. A thick column of smoke shot straight up into the air, turning the Cape Town sky a weird orange, making people working around the industrial area panic and run. The uneasy feeling spread fast as the familiar sky color changed in just a few minutes, almost like a different curtain had been pulled over the peaceful port city. It happened in Montague Gardens, a major industrial area north of Cape Town, packed with chemical plants and storage warehouses. This spot has seen similar accidents before, especially nitric acid leaks that make orange smoke. The worrying thing is Montague Gardens sits right next to neighborhoods and major roads, so any incident hits everyday life directly. According to major news reports, a huge chemical cloud drifted with the wind, covering Montague Drive and Link Road. Authorities had to block off the area and evacuate nearby buildings. The strong chemical smell made 4 people feel sick, and one had to go to the hospital for monitoring. Environmental experts warn that toxic gas levels in the air might go above safe parts per million limits, creating long-term breathing risks. If this keeps happening, the city government and disaster risk management kept sending out messages to calm people, saying this industrial accident is now under control. Still, even they admit they're concerned about future air quality as Cape Town grows more industrial. Major news reports say similar events are no longer rare around the world, and if this trend continues, city environments will pay a heavy price. Looking at those pictures, do you really believe this is just a one-time accident? Revelation 16:2 says, "The first angel went and poured out his bowl on the land, and ugly, painful sores broke out on the people who had the mark of the beast and worshipped its image." The image of a toxic cloud covering neighborhoods feels like a serious indictment of greed and the misuse of creation, where poison is no longer just a metaphor but a visible reality. Luke 21:11 also warns, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and plagues in many places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." When the sky changes color and the air itself becomes a threat, that warning rings out like an accusation. Humanity is pushing itself to the fragile edge between progress and destruction. Cape Town may just be one bright flash in a growing chain of incidents. But if the sky keeps changing color in other places too, what's waiting ahead for a whole continent that's already fragile in the face of unseen changes? 3. Glowing angel floating across the sky. Late in the afternoon, against the sky, an unusual glowing shape appeared. It looked like a winged being, just hovering there and moving very slowly. The golden light it gave off wasn't harsh or blinding. It was soft and deep, strong enough to make the whole scene feel like it suddenly stopped. It left people who saw it with a strange, hard-to-describe shock. The first reports came in quickly from different places, big cities in Texas, urban areas in Eastern Europe, and more. The shared videos showed this special cloud formation right at that time of day, when the sun is low and the light gets all soft and hazy. In that kind of light, the cloud didn't just look like a person with arms spread wide like wings. It also reflected that golden glow, making it hard to tell where nature ends and something holy begins. If you look closely, you can't really make out any facial features. You just see a tall, gentle shape that seems woven out of light and mist. The way it drifted across the sky was calm, not rushed or wild at all. It felt peacefully quiet, almost like it was on a purposeful journey. Seeing it, you can't help but wonder, is this just some random atmospheric thing or a message arriving at exactly the right moment? Online, people quickly split into different opinions. Some say it's just a common optical illusion. Our brains naturally see familiar shapes in random cloud patterns. Others are more careful and say there's not enough solid proof to decide one way or the other. But quite a few folks point out that these similar sightings are happening more and more often in different countries and situations, and they feel that's something we shouldn't just brush off. Malachi 3:1 says clearly, "Behold, I will send my messenger, who will prepare the way before me. Then suddenly the Lord you are seeking will come to his temple." When people put those words next to the pictures going around, many see it as a key that helps explain things, like the sky is reminding us of messengers who show up before big turning points. Revelation 14:6 goes even further. "Then I saw another angel flying in midair, and he had the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people." Looking at this passage, that glowing figure stops being just an interesting visual effect. It becomes a quiet reminder that messages from heaven can arrive in ways we never expected. No matter which way you choose to understand it, seeing something like this still leaves a silent ripple in your heart. If just one quiet sign gliding across the sky could get the whole world talking this much, what would happen if similar signs stopped coming one at a time and started appearing all across the heavens at the same moment? 4. Suncross light. When the sun slowly touches the horizon, everything seems to slow down, and right then, a picture appears that makes a lot of people stand still for a long time. In that moment, have you ever felt like something far beyond the usual beauty of nature is quietly saying something to us? This cross-shaped sunlight has been seen in many coastal areas lately, especially at sunset. The videos show the rays not spreading out in the normal circle, but forming two clear lines, one horizontal, one vertical, crossing right in the middle of the sky as it gets darker. No sound, no big movement, just the light and a deep sense of calm covering the whole scene. Out on wide-open beaches, where the horizon stretches forever, that light cross shows up more clearly than ever. The water reflects soft gold and orange colors, and up above, the rays look almost carefully placed, creating a picture that makes many people think of a place of worship. Even though you're standing in the middle of nature, it feels like you're in a rare, holy moment. From a science view, this usually happens because of light bending through ice crystals high in the atmosphere when the sun is very low. Special ice patterns can bend the light in unusual ways, making rare shapes like this. That explanation is neutral. It helps us understand the physics without taking away from what our eyes are actually seeing. Joel 2:30 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and columns of smoke." When people put this verse next to the light cross in the sky, many see it as a gentle hint rather than a judgment. The sign isn't loud or scary, but it's enough to make folks stop and think about the connection between heaven and earth. Matthew 24:30 goes even deeper. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. In the light of this verse, the cross isn't just an optical effect anymore. It becomes a quiet reminder of what's coming, a sign in the sky pointing to his presence. Everyone may understand it in their own way, but no one can deny that moment leaves a deep mark. The light doesn't speak, yet it stirs a meaningful silence inside those who see it. And if that cross in the sky is a soft reminder just before sunset, what will happen when the light finally goes out, leaving the world to face the darkness ahead? 5. Big storm in São Francisco do Sul, Brazil. The wind didn't come in slowly. It slammed down like an invisible punch from way up high, shaking everything in its path. In just a few seconds, metal roofs flew off, trees snapped, the ground turned into a mess of water and debris, and you could really feel how helpless we are when nature suddenly gets out of control. This was a microburst in São Francisco do Sul, Santa Catarina state. It's not a long-lasting storm. It's a sudden rush of cold air dropping straight down from high up. The wind hits the ground hard and then races sideways with terrible force, plus heavy rain, turning coastal neighborhoods into total chaos in just a few short minutes. What was left afterward was an eerie quiet and piles of destruction. News reports say the wind in the center of the microburst could go over 60-70 miles per hour, strong enough to rip roofs off houses and knock down big old trees that had been rooted for decades. More than 200 homes got damaged. Lots of roads were blocked by fallen trees. Thousands of families lost power for a while, and some people got hurt from flying pieces of stuff. The damage numbers kept going up as rescue teams reached the cutoff areas. In the videos people recorded, you see the wind pouring down like an invisible waterfall. The sea turned muddy and rough, and the rain hit people right in the face. There was no real time to get ready or find good shelter. Everyone just had to duck and brace against the huge pressure crushing the town. It felt like the sky and earth flipped upside down, and our usual sense of safety just vanished. Matthew 24:7 says, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." When you read that next to pictures of wind crashing straight down from the sky, a lot of folks start thinking about how things are changing in ways that don't follow the old patterns anymore. Disasters aren't just coming from the ground or the ocean. Now they're coming right from the sky above us. Luke 21:11 goes on to warn, "There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven." A microburst can be explained by weather science, but when they start happening so often, so hard, and with no warning, it still feels like one of those strange signs. That suddenness makes many people wonder, is this just extreme weather, or is it a reminder that things are getting out of balance? What happened in São Francisco do Sul isn't alone. It's part of a string of wild changes happening all over the world. When wind from the sky can flatten a whole town in minutes, it makes us take a hard look at how fragile our place really is. And if this was just one strong local hit, what happens if those winds team up into a huge storm covering an entire continent? 6. Japan is buried under a blizzard. On the familiar streets of Sapporo, snow covers everything so deeply that all sounds get swallowed up, leaving just a biting cold and empty feeling hanging over the place. The blizzard in Hokkaido has turned northern Japan into a shut-off world of cold white. Snow falls heavy and steady for hours. Strong winds blow hard from the sea inland, and you can barely see your hand in front of your face. The usually lively city is now locked tight in ice. Main roads disappear under thick snow, leaving everyone feeling completely cut off. Sapporo, a place used to tough winters, is still shocked by how fierce this one is. Snow piles high against front doors, porches cave in from the weight, cars get buried after just one night. The bright ski resorts that are normally full of life have gone quiet, like people stepped back and let nature take full control. Local authorities keep putting out urgent warnings, one after another. Schools are closed, flights get canceled, trains stop running, and folks are told to stay indoors because of the real danger of hypothermia and deadly accidents. All those nonstop warnings create a quiet kind of chaos. Everyone has to face their fear alone in a cut-off world. And you can really feel how fragile we are when an entire city gets sealed behind invisible walls of snow. Joel 2:2 describes it like this: a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like dawn spreading over the mountains. That picture strangely fits the Hokkaido blizzard. Daylight gets choked by thick clouds and white snow, turning time into one long dark flow where you can't tell day from night. The cold doesn't just cover the ground, it seeps right into people's hearts. Revelation 8:12 continues like a cold warning. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet. Then a third of the sun, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars were struck, so that a third of them turned dark. When the Hokkaido sky stays dull gray for days, light blocked out, a lot of people stop seeing this as just bad weather. They start feeling it's a judgment on a world that's losing its way. The blizzard will pass, but the lonely, freezing feeling it leaves behind won't go away easily. Roads will get cleared, life will pick back up, but the memory of a city cut off from the world in total silence will stay. And when the ice finally melts, what will show underneath? Or are even colder storms already quietly waiting ahead? 7. The desolate scene in Alaska after the brutal blizzard. Snow isn't falling the usual Alaska way anymore. It's coming down heavy, piling up fast, pressing everything to the ground like it won't let people have any room to breathe. Juneau is going through one of the biggest snowfalls in history. They've already gotten over 80 inches in a short time, and forecasts say another 30 inches or so could be on the way. This coastal town that's used to long winters is now under a state of emergency. Everyday life has to adjust with every new weather update that comes out. CNN and Fox News report that the sheer weight of the snow has forced many homes to shut down quickly so they can be reinforced. Rescue teams are being sent out non-stop to try to prevent buildings from collapsing. Down at the harbor, some small boats couldn't handle the pressure and sank, causing millions of dollars in damage. Meanwhile, main roads are blocked by snow piled, chest high for anyone trying to walk. The scene in Juneau feels especially bleak and abandoned. Rows of low houses slowly disappear behind a solid white wall. Trees are bent over double. The once busy harbor now sits silent, like it's frozen in time. There's no screaming or shouting, but the heavy, suffocating feeling is very real. Every extra inch of snow adds more pressure on the infrastructure and on people's spirits. Authorities keep issuing warnings about roofs collapsing, small avalanches, and the chance of long power outages. Schools are closed. Many neighborhoods are being told to stay inside as much as possible. Rescue operations have to work in almost zero visibility. In that kind of atmosphere, you can really feel how fragile we humans are when facing the quiet, massive power of nature. Amos 9-6 starts with a strong declaration of power. He builds his upper chambers in the heavens and has laid his foundation on the earth. He calls for the waters of the sea and pours them out on the face of the earth. The Lord is his name. When it seems like the seawater has been turned into snow and ice pouring down on Juneau, a lot of people see it as a reminder that control isn't in human hands. Luke 21:25 keeps ringing out like a clear warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Even though here it's snow instead of ocean waves, the feeling of confusion and helplessness is almost scarily the same when nature goes way beyond anything we expected. The snow will stop falling eventually, but what it leaves behind won't just be melting ice. When spring comes, that whole huge amount of snow will turn into water, and Juneau might face another threat, even more serious. The question is this the worst of it? Or just the beginning of bigger waves still waiting ahead? 8. Beautiful Cloud River. In the middle of these dark and uncertain days, sometimes the sky suddenly opens up with a moment that makes your heart feel quiet and still. High up on the mountain top, a long band of white clouds appears, not wild or loud, just gently drifting by like a brushstroke from another world. It doesn't come to scare anyone. It comes to hold your eyes a little longer, almost like it's asking people to pause and catch their breath from all the rush of these times. This kind of thing is often seen in big mountain ranges like the Rockies or the Alps, where heights of thousands of feet let high clouds gather and move along the shape of the land. But what catches people's attention lately is that it's happening more and more often, even in places that rarely saw it before. Weather reports from NOAA and Nature.org say that cirrus, or stratus clouds, when they meet steady winds, can form shapes that look just like a flowing river. From far away, the cloud bank curves along the mountainside, wraps around the peak, then spills gently down into the valley below. The movement is slow and calm, layer after layer flowing like soft water through all the turbulence around it. While the earth keeps taking hit after hit from nature's anger, up above, there's this peaceful sight that soothes the mind, like two different worlds existing side by side. That moment makes you wonder, even in the most troubled times, could there still be little signs placed there on purpose to keep hope from dying out completely? The contrast between the beauty up high and the hard reality down here doesn't feel random. It feels more like a quiet reminder sent through pictures without needing a long explanation. Psalm 104:3 says, "He lays the beams of his upper chambers in the waters. He makes the clouds his chariot and rides on the wings of the wind." The clouds aren't just weather. They're described as the way the Most High moves, appearing and traveling exactly as he wants. When that band of cloud drifts across the mountaintop, the idea comes back again, like a gentle hint that there's a presence beyond what our eyes can normally see. Isaiah 19:1 goes on to paint the picture. The burden against Egypt. Behold, the Lord rides on a swift cloud and will come into Egypt. The idols of Egypt will totter at his presence. Here, the clouds are tied to action, bringing a message right on time, making every false power tremble. So the coming of this cloud river isn't just something pretty to look at. It's like a quiet pause put right in the middle of stressful days, reminding us that hope is still being planted, even as judgment draws near. But is this calm scene up high just a short break? Or is it a sign that something much bigger is waiting just beyond? 9. Sundogs showing up more often. The sky in 2026 has left a lot of folks stunned because these strange bright spots keep appearing right next to the sun way more often than usual. They're no longer just rare moments you see in photo books or science articles. Sundogs are showing up over and over, enough that both skywatchers and regular people stop and look up. The real amazement isn't just how pretty they are. It's that something once so uncommon now feels almost normal. Folks usually spot sundogs in really cold places like Mongolia or parts of North America, where ice crystals form easily in the air. Wikipedia and NatHab explain that it happens when sunlight bends through those hexagonal ice crystals floating high in the clouds. What stands out now is that they're appearing a lot more in areas that weren't known for them before. Visually, sundogs look like two bright glowing spots, one on each side of the sun, sometimes connected by a faint ring of light. The glow is both dazzling and kind of solemn, giving a feeling that's almost holy, hard to capture with just science words. When they keep happening close together in a short time, plenty of people start wondering, is this just chance? Or is it some kind of bigger sign? What do you feel when you stand under a sky like that? Acts 2:19 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood and fire and clouds of smoke." A lot of people see those words as a way to make sense of unusual things happening in the sky. With sundogs appearing so often, the idea of wonders in the heavens comes up again as something worth thinking about. Matthew 24:29 goes on, "Immediately after the distress of those days the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky." Current. This Bible passage doesn't talk directly about sundogs, but it puts changes in the sun into a bigger picture of huge shifts beyond the normal order of nature. From a science view, weather experts at weather.gov say climate change is altering the upper atmosphere, creating more ice crystals at high altitudes, which makes optical effects like sundogs happen more frequently. Some discussion boards like Metabunk point out that better cameras and easy sharing in the digital age might just mean we're noticing and recording them more. Those two explanations, physical causes versus how we interpret meaning, sit side by side, showing the difference between science and personal belief. Still, the fact remains, a phenomenon that used to be rare is now common. Whether you look at it through science or faith, sundogs are marking a different kind of time for our sky. And if these little halos around the sun are already getting the whole world's attention, what might happen when even bigger signs start to appear? 10. Cloud tsunami in the sky. The sky suddenly changes when a huge wall of clouds rises up from the horizon, rolling and heavy, like it's pouring straight down toward the ground. The light gets swallowed up, and everything goes dark in just a few minutes, leaving you overwhelmed in every sense. When you see that massive cloud coming closer, you can't help but wonder why the sky looks like such a violent wave. These clouds are called arcus, or shelf clouds. They often show up right before powerful storms. In the past, people noticed them a lot along coastlines like Portugal or Gulf shores, where moist air and strong winds crash together hard. Popular descriptions from Wikipedia and Good Tom say they're low clouds that stretch for miles, forming a solid wall that covers the whole sky and warns of intense weather right behind it. When it happens, the scene gets downright eerie and hard to breathe through. The cloud wall swirls and churns, with the edge rolling downward like a living wave, moving fast and heavy. The ground below falls into deep shadow while the wind howls. At that moment, it doesn't feel like a weather forecast anymore. It feels like the quiet right before a disaster, when nature shows its overwhelming power and makes us humans feel so small. Genesis 7:11 records, "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the windows of heaven were opened." The picture of the windows of heaven being opened sounds like an ancient way of describing the sky falling apart, when the clouds stop being still and start pressing down, flooding in from above. Matthew 24-37. 39 goes on to say, "For as in the days of Noah, so it will be when the Son of Man comes, they knew nothing until the flood came." That Bible passage puts people's surprise and carelessness right in the center. Disaster doesn't come with a loud siren, but with signs in the sky that many just ignore. From a science view, arcus clouds form when a strong cold front pushes warm, moist air upward, creating that classic rolling shape. But when these events happen more often and get bigger, the uneasy feeling doesn't come only from the physics. It comes from the meaning of the repetition. The sky seems to be showing us a familiar picture. Floods don't just come from the ocean. They can come from the clouds too. It all leads to a cold truth. Nature is reminding us of the days of Noah, using the language of clouds and wind. And when that cloud wall finally breaks, what's left isn't just rain and storm. It's a bigger question about whether humanity is ready for the real flood that's been warned about for so long. Looking back at the whole journey we've just been through, you can see those 10 events aren't random or disconnected at all. They're linked together like a steady stream of signals, coming one after another, strong and consistent, sounding out across the sky of this very unsettled time. From strange signs that are hard to explain to images that leave people stunned, everything gives the feeling that the normal order we're used to is being seriously shaken. The Bible has talked about times like this before. Matthew 24:6-8 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but the end is still to come. All these things are only the beginning of birth pains." As these signs keep coming faster and thicker, that prophecy doesn't feel far away anymore. It rings out like a serious wake-up call for the generation living right now. Joel 2:30-31 also says, I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood. Those pictures aren't meant to scare us. They're there to wake up a heart that's been sleeping in a false sense of safety. It's a call to come back to being awake, to real faith, and to humility before the one who holds power over heaven and earth. If something's weighing on your heart right now, feel free to leave a prayer or a sincere thought below. Sometimes just taking a quiet moment, turning our eyes upward, is enough to light a little candle in these shadowy days. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any message. Thank you so much for staying with me to the very end. May peace always be with you. May your faith stay strong and warm, and may every day that passes bring you one step closer to true awakening.
Lighten up now.
Oh my God!
If you wake up one morning and the sky in front of you isn't whole anymore, would we still dare to believe tomorrow will be like yesterday? Time is getting squeezed tight, the future is fading, and a quiet fear slips into every breath as strange signs suddenly rise up all at once. No hiding, no asking permission, like a loud bell forcing humankind to look up. 10 events in a row are showing up, tearing apart what we thought we knew. The sky cracking open, lights burning bright, sounds roaring, strange shapes floating, trumpets sounding far away. It's all coming fast, piling on top of each other, not giving us any time to look away or pretend it's nothing. Maybe you're wondering too, why is everything happening all at the same time like this? Maybe we all feel something big is coming really close. If you still have a prayer left in your heart, please leave it down below, like a quiet moment before the big shaking that's starting ahead. Now come with me, let's dig deeper together and take a closer look at the hidden truths inside these 10 strange events that are happening secretly and quietly all around the world. 1. A tear in the sky. The boundary between two worlds is becoming more and more visible. In just a moment, the familiar sky suddenly looked so strange it was hard to recognize, as if someone had ripped a mask right off in front of our eyes. The dizziness spread fast. Your heart skipped a beat, and maybe you felt that same unease the second the video appeared. No narration, no warning, just one odd dark streak hanging there in the middle of the sky. Trino, a small town in the Piemonte region of Italy, where mornings usually start slow and peaceful with a calm sky. But in the video that went around, that whole scene was completely shattered. A straight vertical tear appeared high up, stretching what people guessed was over 2 miles long, so sharp it made many think of some man-made surface being torn open. The usual blue color disappeared, replaced by a deep darkness that didn't reflect any light, not like clouds, not like normal shadows. The video lasts less than 5 minutes, but it was enough to start a big wave of doubt. What confused people wasn't just the shape of the tear, but the way it disappeared. It didn't fade slowly or spread out thin. It closed gradually, like an invisible thread was slowly sewing the sky back to normal. That one detail makes it really hard to call this any ordinary weather event. History has recorded similar things before. Back in 16th century Germany, woodcuts showed strange cracks in the sky, seen as bad omens. Then, in 2019, in Australia, some rare light phenomena were called sky rips, though scientists later tried to explain them as noctilucent clouds or plasma interference. Still,